Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast, brought to you by BuckeyeHuddle.com. Our signing day specials continue with our class of 2024 recruiting capsules. Been an interesting few days. Lots of drama, so to speak. Flips, guys being rumored to flip and sticking, and just a bunch of surprises out there nationally. But one guy who did not cause any drama was Devontae Armstrong, Lakewood St. Edward offensive lineman. He has signed with the Buckeyes now. Him and his brother have really, Deontay, have really been very stable forces for Ohio State, kind of going through an uncertain year with, again, flips, decommitments, all sorts of other stuff. These guys were really big leaders of the recruiting class. Very important to, the recruiting staff, just in terms of being around campus on visits and things like that. So Devontae's in. Let's talk about his game a little bit. I thought he got a lot better his senior year. Just won his third straight state championship. Really, the last 2 years he's anchored that left guard position for St. Edwards on maybe the best offensive line in the country at the high school level. Just a tremendous offensive line. But I really thought Devontae improved this year, Kevin. I know you got to see him early in the season, and then I think you probably watched the state championship game at some point later on. But just your thoughts on Devontae and what the Buckeyes might be getting here.
Yeah, I really like both the Armstrong twins. We're talking about Devontae here. They were guys that camped at Ohio State for a couple years and, looked like totally different guys than the ones, and that's what happens. You sit there, you grow up, your body fills out, you really, really take to the strength and conditioning program. And even when Ohio State first took them, I'm like, it's going to be a little bit of a project there, but then they just kept, filling out. And I mean, they look really good. And, with Devontae, I think that, he, fits a need. I mean, especially as Ohio State doesn't necessarily hit its offensive line number. We've talked in other capsules about hitting your numbers, and they came up one short. I mean, they swung and missed at a couple guys, but having steady forces like Devontae and Deontay Armstrong, I think, is just huge for Ohio State as they, really looked inward and picked up a pair of in-state guys.
Yeah, there's no real mystery here with Devontae. There's maybe some mystery with the other O-line signees, but Devontae is a guard. He's going to play guard at Ohio State. He's an interior guy. He really is a physical presence in the run game. St. Ed's had a pretty vicious offensive line this year and was able to really move the line of scrimmage. He's a guy who, again, likes to line up and move the line of scrimmage in the run game. And I thought he got better in pass protection this year. We saw him a little bit at some camps. We saw him during the season a couple times. And I thought that was a good improvement, a good level of improvement made this year. But at his core, it's hat on hat, move guys off the line of scrimmage, bully people in the run game. And he's a guy who really enjoys doing that and likes to talk a little bit after he does it, which is always fun. So, but St. Ed's likes to also pull a lot with their guards. So he's got some experience doing that. I think Ohio State is kind of hoping that translates over with them. I know that they like to do that as well. So we'll see how quickly he can get on the field. It's not a particularly deep offensive line room right now, but it does take time for these linemen. This is the one position that I think you really got to give guys 2 or 3 years before you really know what you have in many cases. You get the occasional Paris Johnson, but a lot of times it's a 2 or 3 year process.
Yeah, people didn't really realize what they had several years ago with Michael Jordan stepping in and starting as a true freshman. That's very rare. Ohio State's offensive line, there have been misses through the years, and Ohio State has had to look to the portal, brings in Josh Simmons, He takes some steps forward in 23. I mean, he looks like somebody who will be very, a pretty good spot, next year. Bring in Victor Cutler, who transfers out because, he wasn't able to wrestle away the center position from Carson Hinsman. So you go to Devontae Armstrong, and Ohio State potentially could lose both guards this year. I mean, obviously Matthew Jones on one side, and then Donovan Jackson has an NFL decision to make. I personally would advise Donovan to come back for another year, and I'm generally the one who's like, go on, young man, make your money. But I think that he really could benefit from another year. But with that being said, there's not the immediate need that, oh my God, somebody has to step up at guard for Ohio State to be able to trot 5 guys out there. So, I think both the Twins will have a little bit of time to get their legs under them, to develop collegiate bodies. And I think both of them will have productive careers. It's just not going to be something that we're going to see in 24 or maybe even 25. You may have to wait to 26.
Yeah, I think it could take a little time there. The thing I think I like most about Devontae, other than his physicality, is just consistent improvement. These guys, his brother's kind of the same way, didn't play a lot of varsity their sophomore years. So they camped and people liked what they saw. But even I think the big thing with Ohio State was, let's see some game film, so they waited to offer these guys, didn't offer after their sophomore years, and want to see some junior game film. The junior game film was good. They had a good year. Obviously they won a state championship. They, showed some of that camp athleticism was translating to the football field. And then he had a really good senior year. So it's been a gradual development process for him. And he has seemingly met or exceeded expectations at each level. And so for me, like going, by the middle of his junior year, I was like, he's borderline top 20, top 25 Ohio player. And he ended up in my top 15. He just continued to move up. And again, is he going to be Michael Jordan and coming in and start as a freshman? No, even like a Donovan Jackson, who played a bit as a true freshman and then took over as a sophomore. That might be a bit aggressive on the career path trajectory, but I do suspect he'll be a good player in Columbus if given a couple years to develop. So you need guards too. I know everyone's obsessed with tackles, but you need guards too. You need 2 of those, I'm told. So they got one here, and we'll see. I think getting in there early and just being able to kind of pick things up will be helpful. But this is a kid who I think has maybe flown under the radar a little bit. Maybe not quite to the level of like Damarian Witten, who I think's been kind of criminally underrated. But I think people kind of look at a Ohio lineman guard and like, oh, well, that should be, we should get that guy. And so it hasn't always been the case lately. They've not always landed the Ohio targets lately. So this was a nice win for them.
Yeah, and if I'm looking for offensive linemen within the state of Ohio, I'm looking at St. Ed's, because they just have such a tradition of producing guys that have success at the next level. And there are college teams out there that would look at the St. Ed's, when it's a line full of seniors. And and it generally is full of juniors and seniors. You have to kind of wait your turn there in a lot of regards. And they're like, they a lot of jealousy of just what they've been able to produce there. So, yeah, one of the biggest concerns once Ohio State really went more national with its recruiting under Urban Meyer was having the in-state guys who get passed over coming back and kicking your butt because they're super motivated. Well, you have to be able to pick the right Ohio guys. And there was quite a dilemma within the state of Ohio because there were a lot of very intriguing linemen within the state. And I think that Justin Fry and Ryan Day made the right choice with the Armstrong twins, with only having the 2 in-state linemen in the class. I think those were the right picks.
Yeah. Right on his own team, Ben Roebuck going to Michigan was not offered. Luke Hamilton from Avon, not offered. And so they zeroed in on these guys early. And again, I think the expectation should be to land the Ohio lineman that you offer, but it hasn't always happened recently. Zeke Correll and JD Duplain and Jackson Carman. I mean, we can go through quite a bit of
Blake Miller. Yeah.
Blake Miller. We can go through quite an alarmingly high number of O-line in-state misses over the last 6 or 7 years. So this was, while they may not have went out and got Jordan Seaton at the end, they were able to kind of identify the guys they liked in Ohio and land them, which hasn't always been the case lately. So good pickup here for the Buckeyes. Devontae Armstrong in the class officially. And check back here. We'll have more capsules throughout the day as guys sign.